Hi everyone. So first we're going to hear from Sarah. Sarah, do you mind explaining what happened when the first COVID-19 case was confirmed on Leros? What happened, how did you organize things, and what were the challenges?
So when the first case of COVID-19 was found on Leros refugee camp, we knew that the camp was going to be closed for several weeks, and we decided to switch part of our operations into emergency relief. We want people to receive the tools but also the information to protect themselves from COVID. We decided to purchase masks, soaps and hand sanitizer and to compile those into COVID-19 protection toolkits where people would also find information made in a very graphic way to understand how to use the material we were giving them. At the same time, we launched a huge campaign on our social media, both to fundraise and to make people understand and inform them about the best practices to protect themselves from COVID. And we also try to keep our educational program alive through online classes.
Hi Naima, would you mind explaining a little bit about ECHO's boutique system and how it works?
Absolutely. The boutique was a place, actually more like a shop, where our beneficiaries, the residents of the hotspot, and also the refugee population on the island were having the opportunity to have like a shop-like experience when purchasing clothes. And that was also happening in a very dignifying way. And they were having a more like a shop-like experience. They were greeted by our receptionists. They were acting more like as a cashier. They were assisted by some customer assistants. And also inside of the boutique, not only the volunteers were working, but we were also having some of our students that were almost proficient in the English language helping us out with the translation.
So what are the difficulties of organizing an emergency distribution of clothes compared to running the boutique normally?
Well, due to the COVID pandemic, our boutique became way too small to welcome our residents safely. That's why the situation required us to come up with a much quicker and practical system to distribute clothes. The main challenges that were required by a situation of this kind, with the winter coming much closer and the first case of COVID found within the camp, it was mainly time, because time is always an enemy when it comes to cope with an emergency. Another important point has been to find a logistic system that it was needed to be operative from the very next day. Within, to not be forget also the amount of work, very intense work that we had to require from our team on the ground. That's why a great thanks goes for all the people, all our operators that have made all this possible. Thank you.
Elena, as a volunteer and then a coordinator, when the COVID outbreak happened, how did you find yourself helping and teaching classes online?
So when the COVID outbreak first happened in mid-September in Leros, we as an organization had to shift and pivot super quickly to address the greatest needs on the island. So among the numerous things we were doing, fundraising, urgent clothing distributions, we decided as teachers that it was very important to continue to provide a curriculum for the students, despite not being able to see them face to face. And the way we decided to go about this was to make Facebook groups for each of the courses, so the students could interact with the material in an asynchronous way, so on their own time. And because they don't have good internet connection in the camp, they don't have access to computers, we felt this was the best way, the best approach. But another thing that we faced was a low engagement from the beginning from the students, because unfortunately over this lockdown period the asylum procedure offices closed. And so this meant that the applications for asylum and for refugee status were put on pause, and I think it took over the mindset, and it took over it quite preoccupied a lot of the migrants in terms of what was happening with the status of their applications. And so we were trying to balance staying present in their lives as well as making the material as easy and accessible as possible.